Before we start today, I want to make a special shout out to my Boston Red Sox hat, which I lost and found not too long ago. So, feeling pretty good about that. So, anyway, today I want to ask you a question. What is your profession? Now, I'm assuming that most of you, when you hear that question, you think I'm asking what's your job. But I'm not really asking what's your job. I'm asking what is your profession? What do you profess? Because a long time ago when that word first hit the scene, it actually had more to do with religious orders or vows that you might take. And whenever someone professed something, then it was basically a vow or a verbal contract of what it is that they were capable of or what it is they do. And eventually, when people said, "Well, I'm a blacksmith. I'm an awesome blacksmith. I know everything about it," then they became a professing blacksmith or a professing doctor or professing whatever it was they were. And then the word evolved and it became professional. It's not that different than the word vocation, which means calling, like vocal and call, so that sort of thing. But to come back to profession, the reason why I ask it and the reason why it's an important question is because whatever we profess more than likely is an idea or an indicator of how we are and who we are in the world. So for the rest of this video blog, when I say profession, I'm actually talking about, I'm going to change it to what is it that you talk about? What is it that you profess? Okay? And it may be your job because, when most people meet each other, they usually get into, especially men, when they talk, they'll be like, well, what is it? What do you do? We'll start talking about that and people start talking about their job. And then that's what they profess. And they'll say, I paint this and I build that and I design this and I work on that. And they'll profess all the virtues of that which it is they do to make a living or, to pay their bills, whatever. And that's what they talk about all the time. And most of the time, when you look at most of the jobs that people have, there are very few jobs that don't include talking about something. It's talking about, what the next project's going to be, talking about the design of a circuit board or design of something else or whatever it is. So we're always talking about something. And so what ends up happening is we actually become whatever it is that we profess. We become our jobs. I worked in recruiting for several years and I'm probably going to go back into recruiting. And I know from working as a recruiter, when the job market was really low and I talked to people who lost their jobs, to those people, they lost themselves. They didn't just lose their job. And in fact, that idea that they were losing themselves because they lost their job is partly what pushed me towards ministry. Because I got to a point where I was trying to encourage people and trying to get them to see that they hadn't lost themselves just because they lost their job, that there was some greater part of themselves. But obviously I can't do that on the clock. And so I started to give out my number and talk to some people offline from work. But obviously I couldn't do that, but so much because I have a family. And eventually, as I continued to profess that, I ended up saying to some people, well, all I can do is pray for you or something like that. And then those people started to say, call me just to pray for them. And then eventually I said, you know what? Maybe I need to be doing this all the time because ultimately what I'm professing is that everyone's of value. Everyone is how do you say it? They receive God's love. Let's just say it like that. And that is our reality. Regardless of what we do, regardless of the work that we have, our job or how much of a paycheck we have, all these different things that we use as measurements of success have nothing to do with the reality of who we are. But if all we do is profess our job or profess the things that we do, then we become those things. And when those things fall apart, we fall apart. And it shouldn't be that way because we're so much more than that. I mean, let's use the Boston, for example. For Boston, people love their sports, no doubt. I'm not even really a sports person, but I still kind of get that little thing that comes around because it's just a part of the culture. But you think about it, when a person, they profess like what the team does and they profess, they become really an integrated part of the team. No problem. But then if the team loses, what happens? the person loses a part of themselves. And if the team keeps losing, they start to feel really diminished. It shouldn't have to be that way. Yeah, you may want the best for the team, but if they lose, you shouldn't be less of who you are because a team lost. But that's what we do. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's not a judgment, because that's a very integral part of being a human. But if we aren't aware of that, if we're not aware that what we profess actually ends up becoming us, and if we're not conscious, then we can profess a lot of terrible things and we'll find ourselves in a terrible situation. I'll use myself as one more example. I used to be on a career path in an area where I could have made a lot of money doing something that I didn't necessarily love. And part of that job was required me to look at a particular group in a negative light. And I found that I was not capable of doing it because I felt like if I professed that, I didn't want to believe that. But my job and my livelihood was contingent upon me seeing certain people in a certain way because that was my job. And so I knew that if I were to continue in that realm and in that role, that eventually I would have to continue that, and I would believe it. I would become this thing that I professed. And so I started asking myself, well, what do I want to become? And whatever it is I want to become, that's what I'm going to profess. And so I started saying more and more and more how loved we are, how beautiful we are, how no matter how it seems on the surface, we are this magnificent creation, and that we can do so much more than what we're doing for each other and with each other in love. But we have to say it. We have to profess it. We have to make it a part of our being. And then when we do our jobs, whether we're working for the government or working for a corporation or working as a volunteer or working at home, taking care of children and influencing young minds, whatever we do, if we do that, if in that we profess this other thing, we profess this thing that we're great, that we're magnificent, that we're beautiful, and we just keep doing it and we keep professing it, I'm telling you, we will become it. And whatever job, our technology will reflect it, our government will reflect it, our churches will reflect it, our schools will reflect it. But right now, we're not doing that. And so my profession right now is to tell you this. My profession is to tell you everything that I told you in Coming Out of the Dark. My profession is to tell you that you are loved, that you are magnificent. No matter what your circumstances are, no matter how low you might feel right now. Now, if you're poor and you say, I don't have anything, and you don't even see this video, it doesn't matter, because somebody will, and somebody is going to share that. I do believe, and we're going to keep doing it. I'm doing it. I'm saying it. I'm professing it. And I'm going to go and I'm going to meet people as I go out in the day, and I'm going to profess it in my being and in the way that I walk and the way I talk. And when I get in conversations, I'm going to turn the conversations towards that. And I'm going to keep doing it until other people start doing it, and maybe they won't even know why they're doing it. But at the end of the day, they're going to be professing something very awesome. So no matter where you are right now, where you may be in the future, or whoever you are when you come in contact with this message, if you come in contact with this message, still, it's true. Profess it, become it, be it, and make it a part of your everyday. Because we're awesome. This I profess.